Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Spiritual Chancla. My name is Claudia Diaz and I am your host. And for today's episode, we have a very special guest who I really adore, respect, and admire. And her name is Cinnamon Rivera. And Cinnamon is a playwright, director, producer, poet, and storyteller. Her work has been seen on stages such as Casa 0101, Frida Kahlo, The Brisk, Hollywood Fringe Festival, and Stomping Grounds. Her work has been published in Chicanas at Play, an anthology of 10-minute plays written by women. She's a spoken word host and a radio show host. Cinnamon is also a huge fan of the paranormal and the unexplained. Halloween is every day for her. And as part of the LGBTQIA community, Cinnamon has organized many events at different venues. And she's all about community. So whenever she sees a need for a specific event, she tries to create a safe space. And her motto is, if it doesn't exist, why not create it? So please help me welcome Cinnamon Rivera to the Spiritual Chancla.
Oh, yay! Hi, Claudia.
Hi,
Thank you.
how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. My gosh, I've been very, very excited about doing this.
I am too, and I'm happy that it finally worked out because it's taken a few weeks.
I know, right?
But I'm so happy that you're here and that you agreed to do the podcast.
Yes, I've heard great things about it.
Thank you.
So, can't wait to hear all the other episodes that are coming along.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yes. So I'm just gonna jump straight into it and ask. So, what is the first unexplained experience that you've had that you can remember?
Okay. Well, I mean, we can go way, way back. When I was a baby, my mom, said we had a big earthquake back in the 70s. I'll date myself. It's okay. But back in the 70s, we had a huge earthquake. And I remember a portrait of Jesus just being on my bed, on the top of my crib, on the wall. And as everything shook and everything, and it was over, that picture actually fell on me as a baby. And nothing actually happened. The picture did not break. It was glass. It didn't break. I didn't get a scratch. I wasn't even crying. My mom walked in and was like, what? Shocked because, it would have broke. It's a glass, glass picture.
Yeah.
So later in life, I'll move forward. When I moved to Long Beach, I was walking I was walking the streets and I saw a yard sale, and at the yard sale, the man had that same picture of Jesus. And of course, I went up and I said, "Hey, how much for that picture?" And he looked at me and he said, "For you, it's free." And I was like, what the, it's like the way things come back around. It was completely, I felt like that was something that was meant for me, that it totally was given to me to remind me of, how fortunate I am and how, life is and how blessed and how things come back around to you. And I definitely felt it was a little bit of a like a godsend, a little paranormal-ish, because it's like, how would that ever, the same exact photo, and I still have it. So, and it's on my wall actually. So that's one of the first ones that I've experienced in life. It is just, something that always comes up in me. I always think about it when I look at that picture. So moving forward, the first time I moved out, I grew up in San Gabriel. The first time I moved out, I moved to Monterey Park into my first apartment. And let me tell you, that was right by the Resurrection Cemetery. Yeah. And, not really putting two and two together at that time, but, I moved in with one of my partners and two other friends, and they were a couple as well. We got along great. We were amazing, friends together. And that's why we thought it would be great to move in and, it would be fun, which it was. But we also had so many things happen in that apartment. Um, as far as like day one, as soon we unpacked, and it was silly little things that we didn't put together, like, oh, hey, I just put my cassette tape right here, and when I came back, it wasn't there. And we looked everywhere, walked around, we came back around, and it was right there where we left it. And both him and I looked at each other like, okay, that's impossible,
Yeah.
But, we didn't think about it. We went about, and then as time progressed, things were happening. We would sit in the living room watching TV, and we'd hear, and it was like in a hallway, like the only window we had was facing the only outside was facing the parking lot of the other building. So we were inside a hallway, so there was no wind coming in. There was no window in our kitchen. It was just an indoor thing. So we're sitting watching TV, and all of a sudden we heard the drawers and cupboards opening, the doors just opening, yeah, like freely. And at first we're like, what was that? Like, you kind of think, like, you try to rationalize things, like, what was that? Like, is there a rat in here, or what is in here, So we go over there and we look, and all the drawers are open, and yeah, and some of the utensils and the forks and knives were like thrown everywhere, and we're like, okay, and then you still like look at each other like, okay, this can't be real, like you still try to rationalize it, because you're like, that's dumb, whatever, brush it off. And then my friend in the same building, this all happens in the same apartment, in the same time, we all went to work. My friend was there alone by himself, and his vanity and his room looked straight into my room if our door was open, and you can see in their mirror, and in my mirror and their mirror, we could see, each other. And he started talking. He said he was talking to me, and he was like, hey girl, what's going on? Like, what are you gonna do today? And all this stuff. And later he called me and he goes, hey, what was wrong with you? Like, I was talking to you and you weren't answering. He's like, I thought you were home, and I heard you, and I heard you talking, and I heard you laughing, and I didn't, so I yelled out to you and you didn't answer. And I said, I've been at work. And he said, what? I said, I've been at work all day. Like, I left this morning at 6. And he was like, no way. I said, yeah. He said he saw shadow, like some shadow there. Yeah. So he thought it was me, or thought it was my partner. And I was like, no, we've been gone all day, and he was like, wow. He's like, because I even heard voices, and I saw people walking and heard people walking back and forth. So he thought it was us. Yeah. So that was another thing. Just so many things. I mean, one other time, just walking into our room, and there was a bunch of, like, it felt like Amityville Horror. Like, there was a bunch of like flies and fleas, and they were all on us. And I didn't even have a pet there. We didn't even have a pet, and it never happened before. So like when we walked in, we're like, what is going on? We went to the store because I couldn't sleep. I was itchy, and all of us were like itchy. So we went and we got like some spray and stuff. And we came back and there was nothing. There was nothing in the house. Like, there was no more flies. There were no more fleas. And we're like, at that point, we're just so freaked out. Like, we're just like, too many things are happening. Our friendship started to get kind of weird. Like, there was a dark energy in there. So we started to have fallouts, and try not to be home and things like that. And it was just, it became too much. We finally just left because we couldn't handle it anymore. It was like too many things after another that we felt it was really dark, a really dark energy. Like hearing our door knocking in the middle of the night, nobody would
What?
be there. Yeah, yeah.
Do you know how many
And
knocks it was at night?
I don't know, but it was like consecutive, like a couple different times at night. So it wasn't just like one time. So they'd, come knock
Hmm.
and then they'd leave. It'd be like three knocks or something. And then they'd leave and they'd come
Uh-huh.
back and they'd knock again. And we'd go up and we'd look and nobody would be found. And like I said, it was a hallway. So it was like
Yeah.
there were other apartments, but it was a hallway.
Hmm.
Um, you had to walk to the elevator to get out of the building, or stairs.
Hmm.
And so you would see people, you would, hear somebody walking by and nothing. And, later you put two and two together and you're like, oh, it was next to resurrection. Like, duh, like, of
Yeah.
course, who knows if they had built on that before or, you
Mhm.
know, you don't know. You don't know. So it
And that's
was,
where my mind kind of, if I'm honest, is starting to wonder, especially since you said, oh, it really felt like that. I'm gonna go.
yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, that is okay. It just disconnected.
There you go.
So in case if anybody's wondering, I was about to ask, Cinnamon if she thought that it was a demonic entity. Um, and I have headphones on, and they disconnected from the Bluetooth, and I know that it was connected when we started this conversation. And the weird thing
Mhm.
is that even like on here on Zoom, it like is telling me it's connected to the headphones. So just putting that
Yeah,
out.
I know. That was weird.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was really weird. Um, yeah, honestly, like you described basically feeling like, oh my God, I'm living in the Amityville horror,
Yes.
really close to a cemetery.
Uh-huh.
You mentioned that you're like the energy was not good.
Right.
Um, Especially with like the three knocks, to my limited
Hmm.
understanding with like demons and demonology, when they want to make their
Oh.
presence known, they'll do the whole three knocks, which is supposed to be a mocking of the Holy
Oh,
Trinity. Then you
see, I didn't
have,
know that. I didn't know that.
oh, yeah, so that's, yeah, it's the mocking of the Holy Trinity. I don't know why it's in the form of a knock, but it is. I also know that with signs of like demonic, I'm not sure if it's a demonic attachment or a demonic
Mhm.
presence. I feel more comfortable saying a demonic presence. Um, Flies, fleas, all kinds of those things are signs that there's a presence there. Again,
Mhm.
I'm not an expert in demonology, but these are things that I have a very limited understanding of. Um, and then you also said, well, hey, what if this was built, before it was a cemetery? What kind of, whose land did it belong to?
Right. Hmm.
And if it was built on top of that, it would also make sense that if it is indigenous land or some sort of burial ground or something along those lines, it would make sense that maybe a lot of the original inhabitants of that land are like, no, we're gonna haunt you and whoever resides on the
Yeah.
land.
Hmm.
Um, but that's like just like my mind is a little bit like mind blown because to have
Uh-huh.
that amount of activity. Also, you mentioning that the cabinet doors were like opening and closing.
Hmm.
You had
Hmm.
silverware basically on the apartment floor.
Hmm.
Also sounds like poltergeist activity. I'm not sure if you're familiar with poltergeist activity.
Yeah.
That is weird. I'm sorry. I'm seeing a thumbs up. Why is there a
Oh my
thumbs up
God.
popping up? That is, I didn't move anything. My hand
I
is here.
I have not touched anything either. Oh my God. Claudia, this is getting weird.
This is. I'm like, I'm a little freaked out.
Oh my
I was,
God.
and
That's
I
so
won't.
crazy. I know.
That's
Look.
okay. I'm not. I'm like, okay. By the way, people, I'm shaking my hands,
Yeah.
like little jazz hands, and it's not
Uh-huh.
me affecting anything. I haven't touched the mouse, nothing. But yeah,
Right.
I would say it's
And I'm on
poltergeist
my phone,
activity.
so there's nothing I can
Yeah,
touch, like right here. Yeah,
that's
that was a
wild.
little thumbs up, and it was a little dark brown one.
Yeah,
Did
and
you
it was
see?
like, yeah. As soon as it said poltergeist, it was like, yeah, thumbs up. Oh
Oh
my
my
god,
God. Okay, I am freaked
that's
out now.
me too. I'm like, nobody living besides me is in my apartment, so I'm a little like, ooh, a little freaked
Oh
out
my
right now.
God. Yeah.
Oh hell
Oh
no,
wow.
stop. Oh hell no.
Okay. No, someone's listening
It's
to us. Okay. So
somebody is. Um, but I mean,
speaking
I
of
guess you had.
poltergeist, yeah, but I mean, there was nothing nice about it. It was so
Yeah.
dark, so heavy, and so quick because we only
Mhm.
lasted there like 6 months at the most. It was so quick and so thick and dark. We also did have a poltergeist, like um, I mentioned before, that when we were like, I was actually alone in the apartment. Everybody was gone. It was dark. I was just watching TV, and I remember dozing off. My sliding glass window was open that led to the parking lot. That you could see the parking lot. Um, and I remember dozing off, and I woke up, and it was just I was watching a show,
Mhm.
and it came up as static, just complete static. And I tried to change channels and everything, and it was just static. And when I woke up, the sliding glass door was closed and locked. And I was not I was asleep. I was by myself, and nobody
Uh-huh.
else like was in that house that I know. And I called out each time you call out like, "Hey, is anybody here?" And when something, would happen, "Hey, is anybody here?" "No." "Okay, it's just me." Scary, so I saw that movie Poltergeist, and that's
Yeah.
the first thing that came to my mind was like, wow, all this static, like, like in the TV, that was just a weird thing too. So yeah, that there was nothing nice about that place, and moved out really quick.
You're like, I
So
don't want to deal with you. You're like, do not
yeah,
follow me. And after you
no,
moved, did any of that continued on into the next place that you moved into, or it just stopped?
no, it just stopped. It just stopped. And how, you think about things and you're like, now I know that, there was something there. But when you're living it, you're like, you don't understand. You don't know. You can't put two and two together,
Hmm.
You're like, I don't get it. Like, what is happening, And it was
Yeah.
something daily, like little things daily, like candlesticks just falling and, just little things like that, like that I didn't even really mention, And
Yeah.
um yeah, it was weird. It was really weird. But, I've had a lot in my life. I've had a lot of different little experiences in my life. And I kind of feel like, once you've had a lot of different experiences in different areas of the paranormal, you're kind of like, okay, I guess since I'm open to things, that I'm more vulnerable to the things. I'm more, I'm more aware of things.
Yeah.
And as I've mentioned before to you, I think, there are people that are chosen out there because they're believers, or they're not scared, but, and then they'll pass the word, as
Yeah.
far as like, my alien stories that I've told you, my alien
Yeah.
story. Yeah. I feel like that was kind of something like, maybe, let the people know, like, it's true. Like there's, something out there, really
Hmm.
something out there that is beyond us. I totally believe that, you know.
Yeah.
So, um, I could get into that story if you want, the
Yeah.
UFO
I'd be
story.
down. Let's do it.
And it's funny because so much happened in a lifetime that you don't even really want to tell people, because it's kind of like, yeah, okay, hey, this crazy nut, like talking about this stuff, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's like, and again, it's not until you're like in tune with that stuff,
Hmm.
which I know you are,
Oh
you
yeah.
don't believe it. You don't believe,
Hmm.
you kind of question it, but I don't question anything, and I see things pretty much, like, m- um, I'll just go into the UFO story. It's like this was back in the 90s, and it's in the San Bernardino like freeway back in the day where like there was no cars, back
Hmm.
then at like midnight. There would be no cars on the freeway. It was dark. It was just mountains. and I was driving with a couple of friends coming back from a party, and it was a little car, like, I don't know, a Nissan Pulsar, I don't know. And we're driving, and yeah, and our music's on, and we're just, chilling. It's late at night, and all of a sudden, a flash of light. At first, we hear our station go staticky, and we're like, what the heck, Yeah, it just went kind of static, and, we turned it off, whatever. And then that's when we felt and we saw the flashlight just go straight through the car, just within a split second. It was faster than a second. It was just like, and it was so bright, more than like when you take a picture, back in the day, you take a picture and the flash is in your eyes and you just can't see for a second. That's how bright it was. And the car moved, and I remember hearing the sound of it sounded like electro stuff, kind of like I describe it as like, one of those flowers in 4th of July when you light one of those fireworks and it goes zzz.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what it sounded like. And it just like went through our car, and it shook, lit up and left. Gone. Nothing to be seen anywhere. We pulled over, and the three of us just stared at each other like, what just happened? What was that? There was no explanation. There was nothing for miles around. There's no explanation of what that was. And the three of us can say the same thing. It wasn't just me. And we talk about it often. We call each other and we're like, do you remember that time? Like, we're like, what was that? And we're like, I have no clue. I mean, there's like no explanation for that. Your car, you could feel rising, shaking, like, yeah. And then you go back and you hear those stories of people being abducted, and we're like, do you think like that happened? Or do you think like, because we didn't even think to check if time stood still or time changed or anything, so
yeah,
it happened so fast that, it almost makes you question yourself, like, did that really happen? But because there was three of us, and I still describe the same thing, exact same thing from, when I mentioned it before, you know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah.
I'm not making it up. I wish I was. I
No.
wish I was making some of these things up, but no, yeah. That was like one of the craziest things. And I feel like, when I do see stories on TV or people tell me stories, I'm like, I feel like connected with that. Like, I hear you. I understand. Now it's clear, of what happened, so yeah, it's like, let me check my body. Do I have any
Implants?
incisions anywhere? A microchip here and there? Maybe that's why I'm so damn crazy. I don't know. Whatever.
You're like, I don't know. You're like, somebody's messing with that,
I know. Yeah. I'm like, it's the aliens, folks. It's the aliens. It's not me.
They're like, you're pressing a switch.
Yeah. They're making me do it. Oh my God. I'm getting signals telling me to do that. That would be like psychotic.
Like, I can't be held responsible. I'm an abductee, occasional contactee. So
that's great. Oh my God. It's a friend from beyond. I can't explain it. Don't ask me.
Like, we're on the same wavelength, out of my own free will, but we're on the same, wavelength.
I know.
I consistently think of like, ooh, and I saw this movie as a kid and I had no business watching it, but I did. Fire in the Sky with I forget the main guy, but he's a really good actor too. But the thing I always find interesting about like a lot of the experiences that people have had with aliens is always like, it came out from the water and I saw this like mysterious light. And the thing that always trips me is that it's always positioned, relatively speaking, in the same position. And it's even crazier to me that this can happen at the same time. I think there was another report of an unidentified object in the sky, and it was seen in the same position in 3 different states. And that to
Mm.
me is something that I've always like kind of gone like, okay, that's cool, but that's kind of scary, but kind of cool at
Mhm.
the same time that like
Mhm.
people in 3 different states are seeing the same unidentified object.
Right.
And the fact that people always see it as a light, I've also have heard of people saying that they'll hear like a really high pitched noise.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then that they have memories of being experimented on, or that they just remember leaving the spaceship and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I've always just wondered like why it happens, why certain people are selected. Some people say that, oh, it's because, they like them for their blood type or their reproductive organs, or they're just really curious about us and all this stuff.
Uh-huh.
But, I always find it interesting in how a lot of like your experience with your friends in this car and it
Uh-huh.
really being pretty primitive at the
Uh-huh.
time, right? And a lot of these stories also say the same thing, that like it's usually in a rural part of like the states or an
Right.
area
Mhm.
that isn't as heavily populated. So I always wonder
Mhm.
too, like, yeah, and then just with like all the recent public hearings that, basically said, hey, there's like aliens and they live in the water type of thing, like,
Yeah.
and I don't know, I'm just always like mind blown because for many years, like people have had these experiences, and
Mhm.
a lot of people were like, no, you're crazy, like this isn't true, but it's like,
Mhm.
no, like people keep consistently having experiences and there's a reason for it. I don't know what that reason is, but like it keeps happening. So I'm always like, just, I don't know, always just like, wow, like this really does happen,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
it just, I don't know, just makes me go, wow. Like,
Yeah, exactly. And the more and more are coming out these days and more detailed too, like
yeah.
of actual interaction with, aliens or whatever you want to call them, whatever you feel. But but like I said, there was no explanation for like a little pulsar to like blow up in
Yeah.
in light, like that bright of a light so fast, and it go away, and then us
Hmm.
be there, okay, like there was no explanation to that,
Hmm.
so. And the reason of remembering it, I don't know, like that's why I'm saying I think they want people to know. They're trying to make their
Yeah.
presence, because some people forget it, you know,
Hmm.
and but they also make their presence known to other people,
Yeah.
um so I don't know, I that was really bizarre. Yeah, I wasn't on drugs, so not at that time.
You're like, no, no.
Yeah, the party was over at that time, I was driving. So yeah, but just paranormal stuff, I love
Yeah.
it. I actually really love it. I was for a long time, just to be silly, I was like, oh man, is a man in black gonna come, find me and talk to me, you know what I mean? Hunt me
You're like,
down now.
no.
I know.
See, that's the other thing that I've heard too, and like
Hmm.
somebody in my own life was like, be very careful when you do research about like Area 51 or aliens, because like you
Hmm.
might get somebody knocking at your door, and I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, you don't know, and I was like, no, what? They're like, if you start like going down a rabbit hole and like you start
Hmm.
clicking through things, or like you need to be careful because you might have like the government being like, what are you
Yep.
doing? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've heard of that happening with people too, from what I could remember years ago watching this like one of those like almost like a made for TV movie thing.
Hmm.
And that, yeah, that there was somebody who like the government was like, why are you searching this and why are you searching that and all this stuff.
Oh
I
yeah.
was like,
Hmm.
oh, that's scary. And I thought it was
And
fake until somebody was like, no, like that really happened. That's
is that
scary.
the abduction of what's her name, Rose or something like that? Remember there was a show, a movie called The Abduction of Emily Rose or something like that. But they got really detailed of um her abduction, and how there were other, there were people coming to her to ask her about stuff,
Hmm.
her experience and things like that. Like they even like filmed it. Like I don't know. It was weird. I don't remember what it was called, but I know it was an abduction of something. But
I it could have been that one because I do
yeah.
remember watching it and like again I
Hmm.
was too young, but I was watching it in the early 2000s and
Hmm.
I remember that ish like just
Hmm.
it was a made for TV movie type of thing and um yeah and just being kind of freaked out and being like this is crazy, you know?
Yeah.
Um the other thing that I'm like very curious having a lot of these paranormal experiences that were obviously very intense and very scary, or even just stuff that you're like, I can't really explain that. I don't know what that is. Have you had experiences that were a little bit more positive, whether
Hmm.
it's, a loved one coming through to give you a sign that they're still around, or, maybe like in some ways, maybe your keys got misplaced and
Hmm.
maybe, yeah, you were running late to a specific, I don't know, place or something, but like it prevented you from having like, I don't know, car accident or something. Like, have you ever had any of those kinds of experiences?
Well, my my brother has passed, and his nickname was Crow, because
Okay.
he was dark, so they called him Crow. And uh, so I see crows all the time. And in fact, this morning I was going to tell you before we even started
Oh,
recording, I saw like a whole, how they call it a murder. Like
yeah.
I saw it a whole murder of crows, like a lot. And I'm looking around for them right now, and I don't see them. But
Uh-huh.
I was going to tell you, I was like, I had my whole tribe coming to me. And it's
Oh, I love
yeah.
that.
And it's funny because every time I see them now, I
Uh-huh.
forget, I don't know if it was you when we talked about it before, that how when when something continuously comes to you,
Mhm.
that maybe you and I talking about that, but also another like healer that I was talking to also brought it up that whenever a spirit animal comes to you, they're trying to give you a message. And
Mhm.
so she's like, take it in, talk to them, acknowledge that they're there because they're trying to send you a message or they're trying to tell you something. So I've
Mhm.
been doing that, because there's always crows around me, always. So I've been like talking to them, like, hi, I see you and thank you for your message. And, um, what is it that you're trying to tell me? Are you trying to, show me something, whatever? And then they're gone. They're gone. But usually when I'm at work, when I go to work, I see crows like at I work in a private resident. I'll see crows outside their yard, and then as soon as I
Oh.
like talk about it, or like acknowledge it, they're gone, and then they're gone for the rest of the day. But then
Mhm.
I think back and I was like, before I started this, I remember seeing crows a lot there.
Mhm.
And then again this morning, I saw a bunch and I was like, and now they're gone. But they were like squawking really loud. She's like, they'll make themselves known. Like they'll like be really loud to let you
Yeah.
like, hello, we're here. But yeah, that's one of my little things is, they follow me everywhere, grows. And
Oh, I love that.
I know it's beautiful, but I um I have a little tattoo in honor of my brother of a crow.
Oh.
And he had that same one. He had the same tattoo as well. But yeah, we were connected, and I remember when he did pass.
Mhm.
I had a he came to me, and we had a conversation. After he passed that same night. I went home. I was in the room by myself, just wanting to be alone, and he came to me and I felt him like he was just there. Like I could look
Mhm.
and see him. And we were just having a conversation like, hey, dude, like I gave you a chance. Like I gave you choices. And I said, hey, I would help you if, you would, whatever way you wanted to do, like, do you want to get
Mhm.
help? Do you want to, live? Do you want to just, give up? Either way, I'm going to support you, but you have to make a decision because it's not good for any of us. So, he was going down the wrong path, all
Mhm.
his life, so, he passed. And when we had that conversation, when he came into that room, to my room, I asked him like, hey, why did you, what happened? what's going on. And he basically told me, look, I'm better off where I'm at. I'm better off dead than alive to you, because I was making you guys worry and sick, and I could protect you more in this world like this. And I just looked at him, and it was like he was there. I just looked at him and was like, okay, I understand. I understand why you had to do this, So,
Mhm.
you know, and he's right. He's right. He, is always there. He's always there, you know.
Yeah.
And so those are the messages I get from him all the time. It's I know. It's a beautiful thing,
Mhm.
knowing that because he was always so tortured,
Mhm.
in the living, and to know that he's okay, and he's there, like, looking after us, so
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing. um yeah, so be aware, whoever's out there listening, be
Absolutely.
aware there's people, alive, and there's people not alive, but they're still out there, like, looking for you and looking over you, and
Mhm.
want you to know things, and they will try to get your attention any way they can.
Yep.
That's why you have to just be aware and listen to the signs and look at things, be with your eyes open all the time, your third eye too,
Mhm.
you know
Yes.
especially because that's when things really, really happen. Be in tune, because yeah, you'll have a lot of good things happen, and I'm saying there's a lot of, there's bad things that happen, but the good outweigh the bad when you'll be able to see why things happened the way they did, you know
Mhm. Yeah.
eventually. So yeah, just a lot of things in my life, but I'm grateful. Like, those
Mhm.
things again make me aware of, how beautiful this world is,
Mhm.
and not scared, like, for the next world,
Yep.
yeah.
That's one of the things that I think is really beautiful that you're sharing with us, is that, like, yeah, there is life after death, and
Hmm.
we're all still connected, and it looks a little bit different. And I
Right.
think it's just a true testament to, like, yeah, they're consistently giving us support and guidance, and
Hmm.
they're also doing a lot of heavy lifting for us on the other side, right? Trying to guide us and get us on the best path possible for us. So I think it's
Yeah.
just, I don't know, you just said it really well, and like, I don't know, like, you said it really well, and I know that that's something that people are going to take away from this episode,
Hmm.
right? And
Hmm.
especially when it comes to, like, animals, and the thing that I also love that you said, it's like, look or tune into things not just by necessarily seeing the bird, but really tapping into your
Hmm.
third eye and tapping into that intuition, and, like,
Hmm.
trusting that the signs that you're being given and that you're receiving, that it is coming from that loved one, or it is coming from, like, an ancestor that maybe you've never met, but know that
Right.
they're still working with you and they're working through you.
Hmm.
um,
Exactly.
and I think that's something that, just in general, with where we are in the world, I think more people, from what I've been understanding and reading, and from what I've heard other people share, that they're starting to become more connected and tapped in with ancestors and with
Hmm.
other benevolent beings. And again, it's around us everywhere. I think we just have to be
Hmm.
open to receiving the signs, like you said, um, and just to be able to just kind of tap into that, and to know and to trust your gut and say, okay, I can easily dismiss this, or I could say, hey, it's a sign from a loved one, and just kind of ride that wave, is something that I think is going to start happening naturally for more and more people.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I know that that's going to be very helpful. So thank you for saying that, because that was very well said. It was very beautiful too.
Thank you.
You're
I,
welcome.
One of the things I love about the new generation is that they're already tapped in, and they're already
Hmm.
tuned into ancestry, and they talk about it, and they shed light on it, and My generation didn't do that. We're probably doing it now, but
Mhm.
we didn't do that. We were busy, trying to survive different things. And you know but I'm not saying everybody, but mostly, it wasn't talked about, like, oh, your generations or your ancestors and this, but now it is. And it's
Mhm.
making it okay for everybody else, and shedding light on, hey, we're not the only ones here. There were many of us here before. They're still here guiding us. We just need to, like, again, open our eye and follow, and a lot of times we have to slow down and just listen. We
Yeah.
don't do that. We don't do
Mhm.
that. And so that's one of the things I love about the new generation, that they're already talking about it. It's already out there. They're already living it, you know.
Mhm.
Um, that's a beautiful thing, I think. That's what I've learned from them.
Yeah.
So,
I was thinking recently too, there's this quote by Maya Angelou, and I don't know it exactly, but basically she says, you never walk into a space alone. You walk in with your ancestors, those that
mhm,
came before you, some that you've met, some that you've never met. And she says, so just know that when you show up into a space, you're never alone. And I feel like, again, in just you sharing that, yeah, there is a young generation that's talking more about ancestors and ancestral work. And
mhm,
even within that space, right, there's people that talk a lot about breaking generational curses and,
mhm, mhm,
really being the catalyst within their own lineage to really change a lot of like that energy. And it's really difficult at times. And in some aspects, the work isn't as heavy, but there is other aspects that they're like, oh my God, I have to remedy this.
mhm,
And it's interesting, especially people that do work a lot with ancestors. I'm always in awe of like their understanding, the way that they share, whatever messages, information that they
mhm.
have with the public or a certain, collective and stuff like that. And just the wisdom that comes through from them.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that I've also learned too is that one of the ways that spirit speaks to us is through poetry. So,
Mm,
being able to kind
yeah.
of witness that and just take it
Mhm,
in and being like, okay, that's spirit or that's ancestor that's coming
mhm,
through. And it's something that is just inspiring, and I think also
mhm,
might invite a higher frequency for people who are taking it in and listening. And that might look like they're crying for the first time they've ever done in their, like, I don't know, entire earthly existence, and now they're coming from a higher frequency because they're able to cry or to be with whatever
mhm,
emotions that they're feeling and then letting it go. So
mhm.
I think that's something that's really interesting.
I myself, I have, as a writer, I have had experiences of out of body experiences where you write something and it just
Hmm.
flows through you.
Yeah.
Um, and one of the publishers of our book, our anthology that we just put out, she mentions that as well for her own book that she wrote, that
Hmm.
she doesn't know, she was just the vessel. It just came through to her, like the
Hmm.
whole book, the whole 300 and something pages just flew through her.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, I hadn't heard anybody speak about that until, like, I that happened to me with one of the plays that I wrote. Um, Unfortunately, I had to turn it into a 10-minute play, but it was something that really actually spoke through me as well. So I understood when she said that, and it was just something that just, you're just the vessel. Like, it needed to be said,
Hmm.
and somebody needed to hear it, and so just being the catalyst to write it,
Yeah.
I feel like so honored for that. It was a story of Sylvia Rivera. And at that point, a lot of people never really heard of Sylvia Rivera, the newer generations. Now not because of my story, but now, people again speak more about her, and what she's done for our community and
Hmm.
for our life, actually.
Yeah.
So in that 10 minutes, I was able to like grasp, the things that she needed to be heard, and, out there, put it out there in as many stages as I could, it was on 3 different stages. And, you know, um, as a trans woman of color,
Mhm.
she just, she just needed to be heard. She was actually, she passed away and just was, she went through a lot of things. And,
Yeah.
our she's an ancestor that, she just guides us too. She
Mhm.
actually went through all that stuff so that we can be free. We can have our
Mhm.
little parades and our little, festivals and
Mhm.
things like that, you know. So, um, I think it's interesting. Those are out of body experiences,
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it really is. And I'm just like, I don't even, if I look back at it and I said, I don't even know who wrote this, it's like that. Like,
Uh-huh.
I, I wouldn't even, if it didn't say my name on there, I wouldn't even know, like, where did it come from, So,
Mhm.
yeah. So, I mean, those are out of body experiences. Amazing though, you know. So,
Mhm.
I've had other ones as well, uh being sick and astral projecting and actually seeing your body, raising up and actually looking down on your physical body. I've
Oh
had
my
that happen.
goodness.
Yeah. I've had that happen before. Um it was quite frightening. Like, you're like, I can't get back to my body. Like, what am I doing? How do I not, how do I get back into my body? And I'm trying to swim. I remember trying to swim back, and you're in air and it's trying to swim back, and you wake up and you're like, what was that? Was that a dream? What was going on? But I
Mhm.
know it wasn't a dream because everything around me was the same as it was, you know? And so, you just kind of say, you just, again, chalk it up to one of those things that, happen to, you know, the people aware, awareness.
Yeah.
I remember, that I was meditating a lot. Like, I made it my goal to like learn to meditate almost an hour. You know what I mean? Like,
Wow.
almost to an hour. Because I got so inspired. I saw this monk one time. I was at a mall and I saw this monk, and he was standing on this big like ball. Um, I'll give you a visual, like a ball, like, how at Target they have those red balls outside.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was standing on a sphere like that. Okay. And yeah, just straight up like that. And he was meditating. He was in a deep trance, and his body was just like shut down and his eyes were closed, and he was there like the whole time. Um and I went shopping, I came back out, and he was still there. And I remember just standing there and staring at him, and I was like, this is like amazing. Like, he actually has shut down his body, and he's in a complete state of somewhere else, something else, you know because
Uh-huh.
it wasn't a cool day either, and he was
Mhm.
wrapped up in his um attire, and
Yeah.
um so I know, like, for anybody else, they would probably be sweating, and you know what I mean, but
Mhm.
his body was just completely just shut down, and I was just so amazed. That, like, really inspired me, and I'm like, I want to try to do that. So I was like, I know there's different things out there. I know there's
Mhm.
different ways to get in tune. There's like other things beyond this realm that when I saw him. So I was like, I want to try to do this. So I started meditating, starting with 10, 15 minutes, 20, then to 30. And I got up to like probably 40 minutes. And
Mhm.
then I remember reading about it, about levitating. When you reach when you reach a certain plateau of meditating and you just kind of start to levitate. um and I freaked out. I freaked out. And I think that's when I stopped meditating altogether, like for a while, because I freaked out. I just like looked around and was like, where am I? What just happened? Yeah.
Wow.
I woke up immediately, like snapped out immediately, and I'm like, oh my God, I just felt really light and like not the ground. I didn't feel the ground at all.
Wow.
And yeah, I woke up and then I stopped meditating for a long time. I got back into it again, and then you go back out, because life
Hmm.
happens. But,
Yeah.
I always pray. I always, get in tune every day. But now I'm trying to get back more into meditating again. Um, Even if I just go to sleep with a meditation on, I put some kind of meditation every night because I was finding it hard to fall asleep. So I put on meditation and just fall asleep really quick. But yeah, I'm trying to get back to that again because I want that peace that I used to have, that clarity that I used to have when I would like
Hmm.
be very you know, in tune and very like disciplined to meditate,
Hmm.
But yeah, that kind of freaked me out a little bit.
Like, why am I off the
Yeah.
ground?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that freaked me out. But I read about that. I read about like this is what happens when, you reach a certain, they call it like nirvana,
Mhm.
you reach a certain nirvana that you can feel a levitation. So, um, yeah, at that point I was into a lot of different like meditating practices and Buddhist and monk practices and things like that. I was just reading about it a lot because it just really fascinated me how they can just use their mind to do a lot of things, and
Mhm.
their body, it's just a temple. It's just a body, it's the
Mhm.
mind and the spirit that is a whole complete other thing, you know, which
Absolutely.
really fascinates me because we think it's the other way around. Like my body needs to look good and I need to look good. You know what I mean? And it's
Uh-huh.
like, no, you need to feel good, like in your head. You need to feel, your mind. You need to feel good that way, you know?
Hmm.
And we got
Absolutely.
it, we got it all wrong. So,
Um, so where can people find or buy, should I say, a copy of Chicanas at Play?
Chicanas at Play, we have a website. You can find it there. There's a QR code that, you can, and there's also a link to buy the book. It's a anthology of 10-minute plays by 14 different women, and most of these plays have been on stage, and we've produced it, directed, and written all of it, all women, Chicanas. And it's the first anthology. We're going to be working on the second coming up. Um, this and we've been touring. We've been touring, signing books, selling books, and doing readings. Actually, in the Library of Congress, our book is, yeah,
That's
it got chosen to be in there.
amazing.
Yeah, so
Congrats.
I know it's a big thing, and actually, it's been a year to probably this date because it was a year ago today where we got together, and the publisher Yvonne Garcia, she handed us, we got hard copy books, she handed us these books and said, look, we're published, congratulations. We had champagne and we congratulated ourselves, and so, and it's an amazing thing, um a great accomplishment. So you can find that there. You can go on my own IG page, my personal IG page, which is RIV Cinnamon. I have a Facebook. I don't use too much, but you can go on there and find me at Sin Rivera. Um, yeah, and I'm everywhere. I'm around town. I'm out and about.
Yeah, so if you're
So,
ever in Los Angeles, definitely hit up Cinnamon. She is just honestly, like even having dinner with you and stuff like that throughout the last few years, it's always fun. Like we just talk about any and everything. Like being able to break bread with you is something that and with anyone in general, but really like in particular with you is something that I don't take for granted. Um, so anytime I get to hang out with you, even if it's like a quick drink, whatever, a
Yeah,
high and by, I'm always just
yeah.
happy to.
I know, it's
um,
great. You just
it's
feel
always a
like
good time.
amongst your people. You know what I mean? Like you just
Yeah,
feel like a connection where you're like, oh, she knows me. She understands me.
and that's the thing that, especially when I met you with CCC and stuff like that,
Mhm.
I always felt very comfortable with you and select few other people.
Oh,
So I'm always really grateful for y'all. So I just
oh,
want to say thank you for coming on
thank
the Spiritual
you.
Chancla
Thank
and
you so much.
sharing your
Uh-huh.
stories.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you at home for listening and allowing us to basically come into your space, whether that's your car, your apartment, whatever that looks like. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
I'll see you in the next time, or I'll see
Yes,
you next
thank
time.
you. All righty.
Hasta luego.
All right,
Bye bye.
bye-bye. Thank you.